joining their dance in a very big way this evening. We have the pleasure of hosting a spy queen herself, Jane MUGO. Good evening and karibu sana Jane MUGO. Karibu, unajisikia vizuri?
Niko salama kabisa. Good evening, how are you?
It's salama sana. Nasikia ni kama Jane nitakupigia makofi. Unajua umekuwa very famous, eh?
No, Lily.
Wacha nipige makofi. Karibu. Thank you for finding time to just hang out with the adults. You know, you're already very famous. I've been hearing even my neighbors talk about you. We want to dive into it. Did you learn karate at the convent or after you were done being a nun?
I did it after being a nun.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So what belt are you? Because
I'm a black belt.
Really?
Yeah, sure.
Unaweza gonga mtu kiajabu.
Uliona mwenyewe. That was on a lighter note actually.
Yeah. Really?
We were not doing karate. I was not in uniform.
Yeah.
It was basically on a lighter note with our journalist was on the floor.
Yes.
Yeah, so we never meant exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I'm imagining your work, the sort of work you do. You are a private investigator and people come out to you for all these sort of requests they have.
Yeah.
You are having your own publicity. Does that affect your work? Your private investigator work, it's good for business?
Not really, but basically what I can tell you, I personally don't do investigation anymore. What I do, I train people on undercover work. I guide my staff, I meet clients, I charge them. So the fact remains that I was brought on social media by people who I was investigating. They're trying to pull me down. I decided, I told my God, I told my children and my heart, I will not leave social media because people brought me social media maybe with some bad intention. But I decided to stay in social media so that in case they want to do it again, I'm able to respond to Kenyans and to the world. So personally, I don't do investigation, but I guide my team.
And sorry, Barbara, when you started out, was it like tough for, a lady to get into private investigation? Because even when I was watching the documentary that came out, most of the people around you, I noticed, are men, just from seeing that.
Yeah, sure.
So is it hard for a lady, to become a PI? And how was it when you began?
Yeah, basically it's hard whereby in most of the community, people believe that this is a male-dominated job. Yes. So it was very difficult for me. And to imagine at the same time when I was working back from 2002 when I finished my Form 4, I was still the only lady in my community where I come from, Kirinyaga County, and I was still the secretary and I was leading men, and we were able to recover a rod that was stolen, and at the same time we built a police station that was named after my name. So challenges have been there, and sometimes even we are mistaken identity in the line of duty. Yeah.
What drove you to being a PI? Because being a nun is all sanctimonious and nice and proper.
Yeah.
So what drove you to that?
First of all, I want to say that I was in Karate Girls, and it's like fighting for justice for people is been in me since I was a young girl. Back in my primary school, I was the head girl of Karate Girls. I remember people like Akina Mother Karua were ahead of me, and they also used to mentor me a lot.
Oh, you're in the same school with Mother Karua?
Yeah.
Are you guys friends?
Yeah, we are very good friends, actually. She's even the first lady who sent me to Nairobi to come and work with the CID when she was our member of parliament, since I was handling a very sensitive matter that brought me to Rimeright 2005. So she is the one who did letter to Crado, Kenya, and requested that I can work with them when actually I was very new in Nairobi. And that's even how the police, one of the senior officers, were able to notice my gift. Yeah.
And today we were talking about cheating, and if we're asking the question if you could use a PI if you suspect your partner of cheating.
Yeah.
If you look at your the requests you get for investigations, are most of them about cheating, and then there are the other ones, or it's just a little bit of your business?
When it comes to cases, my company is divided into 4 departments. The first department is debt collection. The other one is VIP protection, where we protect important persons. We do investigation, and also we do domestic cases. In most of the times, it's let's say about quarter of the cases that I normally receive are for cheating spouses. But at the same time, we have cases where lawyers normally instruct us to get information on behalf of their clients. Maybe there's a matter of divorce in court, asset recovery, so we investigate. So basically, it's not just investigating on cheating spouses. We also investigate on maybe the asset they have hidden or something like that to avoid future complaint, or even sometimes when one spouse dies, we normally see people coming up saying it was my husband, it was my girlfriend. So it's always good. Maybe I normally advise couples. It's good to know the type of a spouse you have, how many children he has. Maybe early in advance. You don't have to wait when maybe people die. It's when people are coming out.
Jen,
So would you? On the same.
on the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Would you encourage anyone to hire a PI?
Yeah, sure. I will encourage, especially not all cases, specifically cases whereby you suspect your spouse is cheating, maybe you have some assets. It's always important to know. You'd rather know rather than waiting until something happens. It's when you start regretting. So I will advise people, especially where you suspect their asset being hidden, their children, or even you want to get married to someone. It's always good to do something we call background check, which you do to cases of domestic. At the same time, even companies tell us to do background check before they employ people.
So you can do a background check of a boyfriend.
Yeah,
if
we
I'm
can.
dating.
Yeah, we do that. We always do that.
You know, Jen, I've been wondering, you seem very brave.
Yeah.
What qualities would you say an aspiring private investigator needs?
Yeah.
Because I know a friend of mine, like this guy over here who I work with, ni mwoga huyu.
Yeah.
So mtu kama anapenda
Barbara ni
Front
mwoga.
camera.
tuseme kama mtu anapenda kupiga nduru ama anaweza shtuliwa akimbie kabisa.
haraka sana.
What qualities would you say kama mtu mwoga kama huyu?
Basically, first of all, for you to become a successful PI, you need, first of all, to be courageous. You need to understand the law, maybe governing your country, like governing Kenya, your country.
Yes.
At the same time, you must be somebody who can be able to keep secrets, and somebody, of course, passionate about your job, because we've had also even detectives in the police force, whereby they normally get to be police officers because their grandfather was a senior person in government, or they had a godfather. They end up, and those are the officers, even in private investigation department, they are the people who end up committing crime because they did join private investigation or security because somebody forced them. But in the recent, it's not their career. It's not their passionate.
But kama we ni mwoga, how do you deal with that? How do you become brave? Because I'm sure your initial cases, you are not as brave as your latter case.
Yeah, sure.
How did you transition from maybe being a bit timid to being very fierce?
Yeah, first of all, like when you saw that in my training, I was talking to your colleagues from the BBC, and I was telling them, sometimes even like telling someone to pour water on them, maybe cold water. Sometimes we ask them, we normally go, when you're doing VIP protection, we have cases whereby maybe a client child can fall in water, in a swimming pool. If you fear water, then how will you save the client or the child? So sometimes it's always good you do some kind of training to them. Sometimes even you end up sending them to work in very remote areas on maybe as an individual, but at the same time you set people to watch on their back so that now somebody can bring back the report where they go wrong. You tell them this is not the way it was supposed to be done. So we normally do such kind of training, and we also keep encouraging them, even as we're not born like who we are. We some people held hands to us. That is why we are who we are today.
And Jane, is it hard? Say I am a guy and I'm interested in a lady. Suseme Barbara is a PI. And I want to date Barbara. Like, is it hard if you're a single PI for men to approach you because they're thinking, hey, this person is a PI. They are going to go and investigate everything about my life. So does it kill someone's relationship life if you choose to become a PI?
On my side, out of experience, it has never killed any of my relationships. But of course, I've been tempted to spy on maybe someone I loved one time in life. And people fear me, especially dishonest characters. But if you're not dishonest, why would you fear dating me? Like even we have women police in military, in the police. We have senior people in the community. Why would you fear someone? So unless you have a weak point, that is why people fear dating us. But in the real sense, I get a lot of people, but maybe time will come when I'll get somebody who qualified to be who I want to stay with or to spend my life with.
Jane, there's something you mentioned just on the previous question when we were talking about some of the methods that you use or employ in your detective work. Now, would you say some of the surveillance or the PI methods that you use are unconventional?
No. What happens, sometimes we normally have like a contracted guidance of the company. So we normally take you through before even you come to my company and tell you, look here, this is what you normally do. So it's not a compulsory for you to take up the training. Because for instance, like you saw guys who are having full meal and were being whipped. It is not like a real thing because these are my staff. And they're saying, let's show the the BBC guys do, maybe even to other countries. We also have staff who have worked in other countries, and maybe that's what they do. But in the real sense, we don't do all that.
And how about your surveillance? When you're doing surveillance, is it all conventional, or there are moments you have to go unconventional? Because you're actually looking for information.
Yes.
And it's not easily available. Yeah. So do you sometimes have to be unconventional?
No. It's a willing win. It's for someone to give us information. It's for them to they must be willing to give us information. We don't force them.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And when we're talking about cheating and someone who's married, like if I come for if I come for you to investigate my wife, for example, do I have to pay you first? Because you see, there's the danger of I'm investigating Barbara.
Yeah.
And then I come to you and say, I want you to investigate Barbara. And then during the week, we reunite.
Yes.
And then now after a week, I call you and say, by the way, Jen, I think now we are okay. Do you get a lot of that when you're doing investigations when it comes to cheating?
Yeah, people have changed their minds, but at the same time, that is why we normally ask for commitment fees. Because basically, like, you want me to follow up on your cheating husband and you suspect he or she, or even your wife, she's in Mombasa. How do I travel to Mombasa? How do I pay a ticket? So we normally ask clients to give us some deposit. It's like a sign of commitment. And it's not also compulsory. If you feel that it's not worthy what you're doing, then you don't ask you to pay anything, but we don't work for free. Yeah, the only cases that I've had like about 6 cases last year. It's cases whereby they have been brought by activists in my company, and these are pure criminal cases whereby people have reported cases maybe to police stations. They have matters in court, and when you look at this particular person, they don't have money. So those cases I can do for free.
So do
criminal
you have
cases specifically?
Do you have cases where people, yes, you found out this man or this woman is cheating,
yes,
but they still decide to get back together? What's the percentage of that?
Yeah, actually, I want to maybe make it clear to you and your viewers. The purpose of following up on a cheating spouse, it is not for people to break up. It is to confirm an information or your fears and worry. In most of the cases I've done, 50%, 60% of the cases I've done, I've made married couples get together. Because sometimes you may be suspecting your wife is cheating. Maybe like he has been seen in nightclubs with your colleague, and in the real sense, they are not having an affair. They're doing some business together. So we'll come and tell you, your wife is not having an affair. If it is the husband, the same case. Sometimes people go to maybe stay in nightclubs up to it because they are stressed, and we'll also come and advise you. So we don't do investigation to break up marriages. We do investigation to confirm on an information, and sometimes it ends up to be positive or negative.
That's very important because, the perception mostly is that a private investigator would bring about a negative eventuality that we don't want. So I'm thinking, between men and women, who seeks your services more?
When I started off in my company, most of the people who are bringing work a lot are men. But at the moment now, it has turned, tables have turned, they are women.
So you'd say 50-50?
Yeah, sure, 50-50, because men are coming at very high rates, telling me that their wives are cheating or with their girlfriends.
In your entire career, I'm curious, have you ever committed an error? Say I'm married to Barbara, and then I ask you to investigate Barbara, and then you came and gave me a very thorough report about what you suspect Barbara of doing, plus photo evidence. Then it turns out that what she was doing is not what you've reported. Have you heard such
as an investigator who is trained, you don't give reports like using rumors. You, for example, you cannot just go and hand over a report because of maybe people are seated together. You need to confirm they are seated together. Where do they go after that? What type of variation CPTs? I have never given a false information when it comes to cheating spouses or any other cases. Maybe the only issue I've had is maybe like a husband came and hired me and was living out of the country. After some years back, the wife came also to hire me to follow up on the husband. So by the time we hit on the guy, we realized it's the same case the wife had given us. So such kind of an error has ever happened to me like once. But we don't give information because of people sitting down in the table. I've only had also cases of briefcase investigators, fake private investigators, maybe doing something we call Photoshop and handing them over to get money. And those are maybe the guys you see attacking me on social media and all that. Because they cannot do what I can do.
What are the highlights or the challenges you face as a PI? And especially being a woman.
Yeah, of course, being a woman detective. And by the way, if it was a man who was seated next to you, will you ask the same question?
No, I wouldn't. And the reason I'm asking, because I noticed you get trolled a lot.
Yes.
I even went on your socials because I knew you were coming.
Yeah.
And I was like, and there are also other people who are PIs and they are men.
Yeah.
They're not as trolled as much as you have from 2015 till now.
Yes.
Hence my question.
That one, it's simply because from not 2015, I think the trolling started 2019 when I was investigating some top government officials, actually two of them.
But 2015 is when you
my
came on the
name
line.
came over
Yes.
limelight, but I'm talking about now, like this issue started 2019.
Yes. Yeah.
But I've not been on social media before, actually.
Yes.
Maybe I was there, but I was not active.
Yes.
But I started to be active 2019 because people I was investigating in government felt that the only way they could intimidate me is to maybe to post some lies about me, false defamation stories. And of course, it was even funny if you followed on that. They only used one social media, one media house, because if you look at the about four media houses in Kenya never did my story before they interviewed me, but one never gave me the right of reply. It's simply because they're trying to intimidate me. So some of the things we normally face, it's like we get intimidated, we get threatened. At the same time, sometimes even you are underpaid. Maybe like you've been sent, like remember sometimes back I was in Luanda, I was following up on a matter. You're approximating to use maybe like 3 days in Luanda, but you end up spending like a week during investigation. Like last week, I think you filed, I was investigating a case of murder in Githunguri. I think you filed on that.
Yes.
And specific at that case I started following up on it on December. But now when you charge the client, I thought the matter will take a week because the suspect they'd given me as a murder suspect, I came to realize she was not the person who committed the murder. It was a different person. So sometimes you end up spending more money, even your money, for the clients to be satisfied. Because when you go back to the clients and tell them, look here, you paid me 200,000, but this case I've used 300,000. So they don't pay us. Yeah, and of course,
it's a challenge.
Yeah, it's there, but they make me strong. They make me to be who I am.
What happens when your client doesn't pay? What do you do to the
rare cases that maybe the only clients have not paid me, maybe they are corporates or government, but because I'm still in the same government, like banks, I do debt collection for some banks, undercover investigation, but you don't do much because at the same time, these people need them tomorrow. So you keep on hoping they'll pay you one time. Like when you do high-ranking cases for government, which I've done, like cases touching on national matter. You don't, of course, you're not going to learn out of your country. You just pray, hope one day Mungu atawabarisha roho and they'll pay me.
Or they'll bring some more up, then you can equalize.
Yeah, but in most of the cases, we use our money, especially when cases are brought by members of public, especially cases touching on senior government officials. We do those cases, we hand them over to relevant government offices, but we are not paid because still they were brought by people who are like, they're called whistleblowers actually.
Right.
Yeah, such cases.
Do you like sleep, like if you're a PI,
Yeah.
like with all this pressure, cases, clients, jury, someone you're investigating, do you sleep at night? With all these things on your mind?
Yeah, I do. I mean,
roho inakuwa ngumu kabisa.
You have
Unalala
to be a
usingizi.
lioness. Yes, I do. I have to do it. Because at the end of the day, I have children. I mean, I have work waiting for me.
So how do you separate? Like when you get home, you just you've trained your mind to just forget about the cases, and now I am home. Like how do you do it?
That is why, like, I have my bodyguard and my drivers. I have like a team who stays. They have a house in my compound, whereby sometimes I tell them, look here, guys, pick up my phones when I'm home. This is time for my children. Because sometimes we have to have meal with my children and all that. So yeah, it's tiring, it's challenging, but I think it's in my blood. I can't stop doing it. It's what I love doing. It's in my blood system.
How do the children take it? Would you explain to them what mommy does? Are they scared for you sometimes, perhaps?
Yeah, my children are not scared. Only 2019. It's maybe like when it affected them. I mean, that's the only time they were hurt.
Is that when there was an attempt of kidnapping?
Yeah. They tried to kidnap my small baby, my child who is in kindergarten. But I thank God the first group that was sent to the kidnap, who I don't want to mention, but they came and told me, because I've also been very good to the officers, to my colleagues, so they gave me a tip of this is what is planned to be done. So they could not kidnap my child, they told me. That is maybe the only time that it affected me.
Eric, are you thinking of becoming a PI maybe after ukimaliza na maneno ya radio?
No.
Do you think you can make it?
No, siwezi. I think some of these things are born with us, just like Jane MUGO. If you're joining the conversation, we've been joined by Jane MUGO, who is a private detective. You can stream this show live on www.spicefm.co.ke. And remember, you can post your questions to Jane. We'll be reading them as we go along. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle remains the same at SpiceFMKE. 40127 is also our SMS short code. So we welcome your questions as we go along. And Jane is going to grace us all the way until 10 o'clock. You can call in and ask her questions and even confirm some of your fears. Instead of assuming and posting mean comments on our Facebook or our Twitter, you can just call and say, Jane, I thought of you as this and now I have a different perspective. What do you think of X? And she's very gracious. She's promised us here she's going to answer you. All right? Barbara, unasikiaje?
Sasa niko relaxed. Mimi ndo niko protected. Amoni asa niko na Charlie one on my right.
Oh my goodness me. And Emmanuel, karibu kimbie kwanza after one security.
No, mimi relax.
Why are you putting a base all of a sudden?
I'm fully relaxed. So is it like this all the time? Like you have to have someone
yes,
around?
I do. Yes, I do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I change them. Like, we keep changing them, or sometimes they are on duty somewhere. Like, we have about 6 of them who were picked up last night after people started trolling me. People are like, you're the type of a woman we need to give us security.
Also,
yeah, we've got
so it was also good for business.
No, really, but of course, people know me. By the way, those people, those small boys and girls, I call them, sorry to say, idol haters. There are people maybe I'm already investigating over certain matters. There are people briefcase investigators. Because I didn't even hear people talk about the cases I've done. I've done a lot of cases, murder cases, robbery. They don't talk about that.
Yes, I saw that.
They only talk about falling down. It was okay because I made Kenya's half-time and memes be made, which was fine also for bloggers and all that.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are hanging out with Jane MUGO, who's been very kind. We are here with her all the way until 10 o'clock. What have you to say about this conversation? Do that via Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SpiceFMKE or 40127 is our SMS short code. Back with Jane in a moment. 11 minutes to 9 p.m. A very good evening to you. My goodness me, what a lovely day. It's Tuesday here in Nairobi. What day is it in Eldoret?
Where are Eldoret? They are not asleep.
Still lunchtime?
It must be maybe in the morning uko in LD. A warm welcome. If you're new to the program, a very good evening to you. We are the adults in the boom, and thank you so much for choosing Spice FM. Today is a special day. We have a guest in one and only Jane MUGO, who is a private detective. She's graced us with her presence all the way until 10 o'clock. And you also are going to get a chance to talk to her. If you're ready, umeweka airtime vizuri, Jane is going to be waiting for your phone calls from about 10 minutes from now. Jane, I have a question I had intended to ask in the beginning, but I was so excited it skipped my mind. What sparked the transition from the convent to becoming a private investigator?
Yeah. How
did you switch from nun to this?
Basically, when I finished my Form 4, that was in Karoti Girls, we had sisters. I was actually the cheerleader of the Kadrik Action, and we had people who were coming to encourage us. So after, actually, I didn't even stay there. I barely stayed there for 6 months.
All right.
Basically, there was a lot of insecurity cases in my county, where I come from, Kirinyaga County, Gishogo Division, and people are like calling me up to Konaishi. So I felt, how do I serve when I'm in convent, and yet in my county there are problems that I need to be
Why
there?
do you think they were calling you?
Because, of course, I remember after I finished my Form 4, there was this particular specific case by a child had been cut a finger by a stepfather. And the police who arrested the stepfather, went to court and charged this particular suspect with assault instead of charging them with a grievous harm that is of a high offense. So I organized demonstration. I was only 19 years old.
All right.
That was after my Form 4. So you'd imagine now when I told them I want to go and become a nun. So people are like still calling me and telling me, you remember like the way we did demonstration and the officers were transferred and this particular person got justice. And remember Mother Karo was my member of parliament in Gishogo. So I said, will I be called like today I'm here, I'm in Convent, and the other day I'm out. Why don't I just go and serve the community?
So how long were you a nun for?
Just for 5 months.
Okay. Wonderful. So what were your fellow nuns' thoughts about your transitioning? Were they cheering you on? Or
the community. My parents welcomed it. Of course, my villagers didn't even know where I am. You see, when I was this kind of small girl, when you finish your Form 4, people think you've gone to visit your sister, or maybe you've gone somewhere else, but definitely I was still enclosed somewhere. But later when I came in and started serving the community, it's when I was chosen to be the Secretary of Security in that I've told you, Murori, Kirinyaga County, Gishogo Division.
Have you had any nun call you for your service?
Yeah, sure. Even further, even pleased.
Yeah.
My clients are all over.
Oh, they have diverse.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Where did you go for training immediately after you finished being a nun, as in the training?
I went, first of all, I was an undercover in Kirinyaga County, whereby I was working with the police and also the Secretary of Security. We built police station. But it is after that Mother Karua sent me to Grando, Kenya, where I worked. But I still didn't have any training. Yes. I was sent to Kabete. I remember the first police station I went for undercover services was Kabete. I remember Mr. Kinuti is the one who sent me. He was the PA to Mr. Kamau. And I worked at Mr. Kamau. But Mishoki, our former minister, felt like this lady has a gift, but I didn't have money to go to college. It's when they took me to Kimathi, I did criminology. From that now, at the same time, he also opened up his company and I was employed as a chief investigator. But later on, they all advised me, you have a gift. You need to pursue this gift of yours. So that is how I ended up now opening my company 2008.
How would you describe your gift in words?
I think it's God-given, and I'm also passionate about my job because I started it when I was a small girl, even before I had any training. I could go to police stations, work there as an undercover police agent, but I didn't have any training. So when I got training, now I became better. And then I also did a training with a company from South Africa called Pansa. Maybe you can watch on that from my YouTube and my Facebook. We did training on VIP protection, and I combine now what I'd learned from the police, what I'd learned I've been to about 6 countries. I combine all that, and that is why I am who I am today.
Have you ever thought of just joining the police or some special anti-criminal, organization instead of just being private?
But I've worked with the police. I've told you that. I've worked there, and I've told you the first actually police station I was sent by our current DCI. I was sent to Kabete police station as an undercover agent for 1 year. So I've worked with them, but sometimes you could have the same kind of disagreement. Sometimes this one wants you to do this, the other one wants to do this. And I felt instead of fighting with people daily because of maybe disagreement, why don't I do my own company? I can do my investigation, take the matter to them, especially if it's a criminal matter. Civil matters, I don't involve the police. We work with lawyers to stop breaking the law.
Or if there's someone who's listening out there who's suspecting their partner of cheating, and maybe they can't afford or they haven't reached the level yet where they want to hire a PI, what tips would you give someone out there? I'm just suspecting for example, Barbara is cheating. Like, what are the things that I should look out for, even before I escalate it to, bring in a PI?
First of all, you must be able to be someone who can understand the law of this country, as I told you a bit earlier. I think I answered that. But at the same time, being a courageous person, passionate about your job, you must love what you're doing. And someone who can also sacrifice, because sometimes we sacrifice a lot. Sometimes even, you'd imagine, like I remember there's Amanda case that I was doing in Western, whereby a sister and a brother working for the UN were murdered in South B. I think you remember that matter. I remember my son was 6 months old, but I had to travel to Western, and I went there. I worked as an undercover, as a maid, as a barmaid for about 3 weeks. Imagine breastfeeding. But after 2 months staying undercover, we arrested the suspect. It was all over in the media personality. That time I never had Kenyans speak about it. They only speak about petty things. So you must be someone who can sacrifice your time, your money, and at the same time even your children or your life.
Yes, but also I'm asking, for example, Barbara is suspecting me of cheating. So what are the things Barbara can do to find
telltale
out
signs that your partner is
cheating? Should she start digging into my phone? Should she call my friends? Like, what are the tips that Barbara can use, for example?
But I cannot discuss that, because that would mean that I'm training Kenyans and I'm also training you on my work. So the best thing, why don't you privately come and talk to me? I can give you tips on a private capacity. But discussing my work, it's like I'm training. That one definitely now means you will not come to me tomorrow. Barbara will not come to me. So even Kenyans will not come to me. And how much I've spent for me to be who I am. So why don't you
hiyo ndio experience yako.
chukua namba za simu alafu tutaonana kando.
Now Jane, there's something we were socialized to know that PI or private investigators and spies are discreet. They are incognito. Now you have come to the limelight. We're like, oh, actually this happens in our country and there are people like this. Do you fear that part of your investigators, because you at least now you're on more of the management point of view, unless your services are needed, do you feel that you might have exposed your investigators with the story that came out recently?
No. I just want to make it clear to you and maybe to everyone else. Those people you saw there, they are not private investigators there. My investigators could be boda guys working right now. It could be your maid in the house. It could be a gardener in the house. It could be, they could be somewhere. My private investigators, they're not allowed even to get in social media. That is one of the characteristics. Actually, the only people you saw there are CPO, close protection officers, trained to protect people, of which there's nothing wrong with that. But for the private investigators, they are discreet, they are undercover. Personally, I was brought in the media by people. You saw that story?
Yes, I did.
I said, you brought me here. You gave me lemon,
and I'm going to take
I'm
it
going to
make
take it
lemonade.
up. And I decided to stay there. So like when they come next time, I deal with them.
Jen, supposing Barbara has paid you to investigate me. Then I get wind of it. Have you ever had a scenario where I come and just start crying loudly at your apartment to please just don't give Barbara the information?
And then I also syndikiza it with some finances.
That one means that is being compromised. And one of the characteristics of a good investigator, you cannot survive when you're compromised. You're either hot or cold. So first of all, I can say that we've had cases, not in the apartment, but maybe in my office, or even like a woman or a man has told us, can we go and bust on my cheating husband or wife? We go there and somebody like starts trying to tell us to stop, to cover up this matter. But you see, I cannot, my clients come first. So there's no way I can cover up at the same time unless if my client is satisfied. But about money, we have never taken money. And if I will suspect or even I just dream that you are taking money, you definitely go home. That is one of the characteristics of my investigators.
Before we proceed, I want to give you a chance, you who's listening, to call in and share your thoughts with Jane. You know, Jane, you've been trending. Today I'm in 3 groups. One, my cousins, another one, elder uncles and bigger cousins where I'm in. And people are just sharing your good works and really talking about you. So I'm sure somebody's very curious and they want a question or maybe a clarity made about some of their perceptions. You are calling 0719 012 600 is the number. And Jane is here with us for a whole hour. So you want to call, make sure when you're calling, you've switched off your radio completely so that she can hear you clearly and all of us. And remember to tell your aunt who really likes her and is intrigued by her, or even your uncle, so that they hear her side of the story. We are the adults in the room. It's exactly 9 o'clock. Good evening.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. They are smart, they are funny, and unfailingly entertaining. They are the adults in the room, and they are here to help you be the best adult you can be. Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not. The adults in the room will help you stay winning. 94.4
Indeed,
Spice
94.4
FM, Nairobi.
And all of its environs. If you're using the tuner, if you prefer, you could cut this show live on www.spicefm.co.ke. 94 covers Wangige, even Ruai na uko ndani. Ukienda Banana, 94 inafika. Ukienda Nkoroi uko past Ronga. Even guys in Ronga normally saying Nkoroi is fine, and I agree. 94.4 inashika vizuri. Hata uko BC kwa kina Babra, 94.4 inashika kabisa. We have had the pleasure of being joined by Jane MUGO, who is a private detective. If you might have seen her perchance on Twitter or Facebook or even on your WhatsApp group, and you've been going back and forth talking about some of her good works, she's come to talk about all of that. And I'm giving you a chance now to call 0719 012 600 and ask her a question. I see the phone calls coming in. Before the phone calls, Barbara, do you spot anything online worth our attention?
Watu Eldoret wamesema Erica Chana na sisi, we are are very awake.
LD wameamka.
Langat Kipkirui Eric wachana na sisi Eldoret tuko mpaka Friday.
Oh my goodness.
You can pick the call.
No, I can read some feedback on Twitter. Raphael Correa is saying the same things. First he says, hats off for Jane Mugo. I like your enthusiasm. And he also adds that tell Eric LD people are awake and listening. Wiseman is also on the timeline. He's listening. About the topic, Vincent says, hiring a PI to spy a partner is a yes, because talking directly to a spouse about issues may not apply when it comes to infidelity. Talking to a spouse who is already cheating only makes it more difficult to discover the truth. That's what Vincent says. Musembi says he's not keen on hiring a PI. Reject. Okay, Protoson says, hey, Salamia, my friend. Hell no, I won't hire a PI. If it gets that far, I'm leaving. Remember, if you start feeling funny, then they are probably already cheating.
Indeed, 0719-012-600 is the number. Emmanuel, Barbara, and I and Jane are picking your phone calls. Good evening, Spice FM.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Lorraine.
Lorraine, karibu sana.
And I'm calling from Westlands.
Fantastic. Do you want to say hi to Jane?
Hi, Jane. How are you?
I'm alright, girl. How are you? Good evening.
I'm fine, thank you.
Go ahead with your question. I'm waiting.
So my question is,
Yeah.
don't you feel that you have exposed yourself too much and put yourself in danger by showing where you live, showing your security, and showing your village?
Yeah, first of all, I want to confirm to you, I don't live in that house. It's only my dogs who live there. I am not I'm not a blunt woman that I can be able to tell people where I live. Sometimes as an investigator, as a detective, you must give misleading information to your suspect and to your haters. I don't live there, but my dogs live there. So in case someone decides to visit, you'll find my dog hitler waiting for him or her. Secondly, about myself, I don't do investigation anymore, but I do this to encourage girls, to encourage upcoming investigators, men and women who may want to do investigation, but I don't do anymore. Mine is to charge, to advise, to encourage, and to give reports to my clients.
All right.
Okay.
Is that it,
Thank you.
Lorraine?
So Lorraine, ukienda huko utapata Hitler.
I will meet Hitler at the gate and he will
Yeah,
hit.
sure.
No, absolutely. Na Hitler ni mkali, Jane. Eh?
Yeah, sure. He's one
Hitler
of
ni
my
mkali.
best dogs, actually.
How many dogs do you have?
I have 6 dogs, but 2 are on duty somewhere, but 4 at home.
Who trains them?
I train them myself, but
You also have an experience with training dogs.
Yeah. But I also have, of course, trainers who are experienced more than me who train me to train the dogs.
So you also hire them out for like sniffer?
Yeah,
dogs
actually, 2 of them are working in government. 2 of them, but 4 of them are home.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Manuel, you wanted a dog. You need to give one.
I should take.
He's a cat guy.
Yeah, his
Sure,
number.
Naka.
So that nikuwe na Hitler yangu hapo
But I can
Kitengela.
give him a puppy, maybe a small puppy. Yeah, a
Hitlerlet.
pet. I can give you a pet.
Alrighty. We are hanging out with Jen Mugo. She's a private detective, and we are picking your phone calls all the way until 10 o'clock. What questions would you have, if any, to Jane? This is your chance to call in and shoot your questions. The number you're calling is 0719012600. Emmanuel, unakaa unawashwa, uko na swali?
Yeah, niko na swali. Last week we had a conversation here about Nairobi being one big bedroom. So in regard to this conversation about cheating, how would you rate Nairobi City? Are we doing badly in terms of our fidelity in our relationships, or you'd rate that it's not that bad?
To be honest, 75% of the hardest cases have been given. They are cheating. They are very dishonest, especially actually men.
See?
Yeah, people are really dishonest. I'm telling you. In every 3 women, in every 3 men you see studying, in every 3 women, let me give an example with her. It's like one woman know that their husband is cheating. The other one know they are cheating, but they don't have money to hire me. But the other one know, but they decided to keep quiet and cover it up. In every 3 people see studying. Either you know,
I agree with her.
the other one you decided to cover it, or you don't have money, or you decided, let me, after all, for my children, what's anikai? In every 3 people studying.
Is it true not to
Let's
endorse
pick this phone call. Hang on. Good
Yeah.
evening, Spice.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for calling. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm Martin from Canon.
Ati from Canon.
Martin.
Martin from Canon. Thank you. What are your thoughts, sir?
Now, having a spy is not good.
Why?
Because it is good. There is vice versa. Vice versa.
Please speak up. We can't hear you.
And if she or he does that to you, does he trust that person?
Oh,
Can you decipher what he's saying?
I think he
Translate it to
says
us.
that it speaks to your lack of distrust of the relationship, I think.
But that's the reason why I'm going to get a spy, I think. Or getting... It's more of information, as Jane was saying.
And at the same time, when we don't speak, people only speak when people are dead or something. So you better do it now.
You better do it now, Jen says. Ogutu from Seme.
Yes,
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for calling, sir. What are your thoughts about this conversation?
I just want to ask Miss a question.
Yes, shoot.
My question is the grade matters?
Is the what matters?
Grade ya kufanya hiyo course yake, kuna grade yenye inatakikana.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Is there a
great.
grade that someone needs to have to become a spy or a private investigator?
Okay, good evening. Maybe for one to become a private eye, first of all, you must have undergone a certain security course like criminology. Or sometimes we have, actually I have 2 cases of people who love that job but they didn't have money to go to the university. So we train them and we make them to be undercover agents, whereby you could be sending them to specific places to handle specific cases, especially cases that maybe they're not going to court, it's just collecting intelligence. So sometimes, even if you got a D and maybe you're this type of a person who can work with security departments, especially the police, giving them information. I've had cases accommodating people even without maybe very good grades because they love their job or they're passionate and then also they're active. Yes.
Would you say it's a lucrative career?
I will just hang on, Barbara. Hold that thought. William, how are you?
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Very
Fine,
well.
thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Good evening, Jen.
Good evening.
Okay, so I'm an ardent listener of Spice, and I think last week the famous psychologist was in the morning show.
Yeah.
There was a discussion at length in regards to what has happened in terms of family setup, discipline among kids. Why are we having a lot of murder with passion post COVID?
Yeah.
Now, I'm just if I like doing social observation. So it's a practical social experiment. Why is it that of late in Kenya people are eager to go and get a private investigator, but the same couple you ask them to attend a session at a family therapy, or a family counselor, be it private or a religious platform, there is always hesitation. Why is it that we are quick to doubt? We are quick to suspect, and when we are actually asked to be actively involved in the healing process, we are hesitant about it, and we give a lot of excuses. And just to tie that to what the doctor said, we find very snappy, quick results, no process, no sweat in it, kind of solutions to our daily problems. It's easier for me to say, my wife has a problem, my wife is cheating on me. It's easier for the mama to say, my husband, is a lazy guy. He is not taking care of his family. And that's why I'm doing what. But when you sit them down to ask them, let's sit down, have a 5 different hours therapy and break this down, this issue down and try and find a solution for you. Nobody wants to commit.
What are your thoughts on that?
Maybe, first of all, thank you for your question. First of all, I want to tell you, when people come for investigations, most of them normally come with bedded mind. For instance, you may come to me with an opinion of your wife is cheating. But the moment we give you information, we give you report, sometimes maybe before she had already cheated on you, and then you don't even want to accept. It is self-denial. It's the same time they feel like it is wastage of time and money. But at the same time, that is why one of the reasons in my company we have someone who can be able to counsel people. It's because of this kind of cases whereby people are killing each other daily. People are breaking up daily because they don't want to believe, because of money issues, maybe lack of intimacy. But I know most of the cases they don't want to go for counseling. It's because initially they had been hurt. They don't believe on the process, because maybe they understand, this guy is already used. The last time I caught him, Jane has caught him. They don't want to accept on that. It's because they are bitter, or even they find it as wastage of time and money. But in the real sense, it is very important to go for counseling. I normally advise that. And even before we hand over report, especially for cheating cases, we don't hand over report without counseling people first.
Do you get cases where someone is a serial, like they just want investigation all the time? Mara, investigate this one. Mara, investigate this one. So they get addicted to the investigation.
Yeah, I've had such kind of a client, but not now, but some years back. But I think he left the country. So we don't have it, but we've had such kind of a case.
So unachukua pesa ama unamwambia wewe renda uishi maisha?
No. We of course we don't just pick money, because at the same time we're not working for money. We are working to be, first of all, to deliver, to satisfy our hearts and our faith and belief. Money is important, but we don't put money first. So we just tell them, the first time maybe you brought someone because of a criminal matter, the other because of a civil matter, we'll tell them, look here, the first time you came in here, you confirmed your wife has a baby with someone, and the second pregnant is still not yours. Why would you continue with such kind of a woman? Because we've had such kind of a case. The first time was, basically that has happened to me actually. The first issue is maybe she had an STD, sorry to say that. The second time the baby is not yours. The third time she has some business somewhere. The other time she gossiped about you. Then what are you doing with that kind of a partner? Maybe you can go for counseling. But if it can't work, it's better to separate in relationship than even marriage. I normally advise, especially people who are planning to get married. Yeah.
And do you get a lot of that, like someone wanting DNA tests? Is that spiraling off the roof? People wanting that?
It happens.
You also have to do investigation about DNA tests.
Yeah, we have cases whereby sometimes people doubt if children belong to them, and we do that, of course, with professions. We don't do it. I mean, we use other people to do that.
Yes.
Is
but
it difficult? Because I'm imagining, for example, I'm married to Emmanuel, and we have a child, and he's doubting that is the child.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get into my space without me knowing? Don't you feel like sometimes you're compromised?
No. Myself, no.
As in your investigators, that's what I mean.
No, it's a bit difficult, because at the same time you have to deliver. Because if you don't deliver, maybe a client pay you deposit to work on a certain matter. If you don't deliver, then how will you go back to us for money? At the same time, this work of investigation, just like even the police work, it must, in most of the time, it must be deep from your heart, that you can work even when there's no money. So you must sacrifice, you must do anything for you to succeed. Passion. Yeah, sure.
We are hanging out with Jane MUGO together with you, and this is your chance to ask whichever question you might have, or even make a comment. Barbara, please go back to Twitter and scroll down for me, or back down. Go that way, stop there. Hi, I think Jane is fantastic. Handling all that negative trolling requires energy. This is Riggs saying, my question is, when you take up a case that police neglected, where do you get prosecution right? This is Riggs listening from Moranga. Jane, hold that thought. You're going to answer when we come back. Okay. And then I'm very keen to also hear, we'll ask Jane as we go along, if she's ever been asked or given a case to encounter that shocked her. Like, hiyo hata yeye as a private investigator alisema, hii imenishoka. Hang around, hii kitu ni mazishi. Jane will tell us as we go along. We are together until 10 o'clock. Good evening. It's 15 minutes past 9 o'clock. This is 94.4 Spice FM. Would you like someone to just come in your bed as a comedian?
Kama ni kazi.
Are you people starving or something?
Kama ni kazi, we can think about how to do that one.
A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for choosing 94.4 Spice FM. 18 minutes, 19 now past 9 p.m. Are you enjoying yourself? I hope you are. My name is Eric, together with the Duchess, and Emmanuel. And we have a guest today in the Adults in the Room in Jane MUGO, a private detective who's graced us with her presence all the way until 10 o'clock. And remember, right now, we are picking your phone calls. Can you imagine? That's what we are doing. We are picking your phone calls, and Jane is more than ready and eager to hear your mind about the conversations we are having, or even a question. Mtetezi Warwaka is here. Mtetezi karibu.
Mtetezi wa wanaume.
Sorry.
Hi, Mtetezi. How are you?
I'm very fine.
Thank you for calling. What are your thoughts? Sasa simu yako ndio inaleta shida. Inafaa ifanyiwe investigation hiyo simu.
Mtetezi needs some good network.
Inapiga. Please make sure to switch off your radio when you call so that we don't hear feedback. You want to call in a place that has very, very good network, and switch off your radio. So if you call and your radio is on, tutasikia. Spice, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, how are you, sir?
I'm good. My name is Abdi from Lanet Barracks.
Abdi from Lanet Barracks. Karibu sana.
Thank you, brother. I really enjoy your show, and I've been a member since you started this show.
We appreciate
you very much,
sir.
Abdi.
Thank you.
Say hi to the rest of Barbara. She's so compliant. She's so outspeaking. My question to the private investigator, the security officer.
Yes.
First of all, I would like to congratulate her because I've never been known a woman of a private investigator. Because as a security officer, I know the difficulties and the courage one requires to be of that caliber.
Yeah.
First, I would like to say marriage is all about trust first.
Marriage is all about trust, yes.
Yeah, I'm an officer, military officer. Sometimes I can go for 6 months, 8 months, bila kuona watoto, bila kuona familia yangu. So if I don't have trust in that woman I left behind, I think it's difficult for one to be in that marriage.
Yeah.
So the question is, there are cases of where these days the issue of breakups is more sema tu ni kwa kitu ya kawaida kwa maaskari hasa katika the uniformed officer. How do you handle a case where a security officer presents you a case and he suspects his wife and he wants you to undergo that process? He himself is a security officer.
Yeah.
Which is a bit complex because most of the security officers, for myself, I did the issue of VID protection and all those things and security investigation.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to handle sometimes, but I like the courageous and the way she does her work. Mine, congratulate and say big up, Thank you.
Asante sana. So if I heard his question correctly, he is in the forces.
Yeah.
And he wants to know, first of all, congratulations being a lady and you're doing this impeccable work, he says.
Yeah.
But he wants to know, because of the complexities of being a security officer himself,
Yes.
how do you then handle a case where, supposing he was suspecting or his significant other of being unfaithful?
Yeah.
Because of the privacy that his work requires, how would you go about such a business?
I salute you. Can you hear me? Good evening.
No, he's already gone.
Oh, he's already gone.
Yes.
So basically, what we normally do in such kind of cases whereby security officers are involved, we first of all get to know, why do you want information? Is it for court purpose? Is it for your own? Because we have also cases whereby security officers, you'll find them working in lodgings with women, but these are undercover agents who are on duty. So before you give the report, you must be able to confirm, do they have an affair or they're in the line of duty? That is one thing. The second thing that's it's also very sensitive for us, when you're even handing over cases of maybe security, let's say in general, not police, but security experts. In most of the times, we don't just go and give report, because you may go and give a report and maybe somebody will even end up picking up his gun and go and use it on the wife or husband.
Yeah.
So first of all, we must be able to be sure this information, do they have a court matter. That is one thing. The second thing, the type of a person who was given you work and what is the purpose. So we also very keen, and that is why I spoke about earlier. We normally have counselors who normally advise people before we hand over the report, breaking up with all the news.
Let's go to Riggs, as I'd promised before the break. His question from Muranga was, when you take up a case the police have neglected, where do you get prosecution rights?
Yeah, lovely. First of all, I want to maybe to tell you or to respond to that. When you're handling criminal cases, we normally we do undercover investigation, chini ya maji kabisa. But when it comes to arresting, like you saw last week actually in the Gori murder case, I've been following up on that matter for the last 1.5 months. I was heard the families since they reported the matter to the police around August last year. We do undercover investigation, but when it comes to arresting, recovery of exhibits, we involve the police because the IO investigating officer must be involved. So police will only come in for specifically 2 times, either arresting time or even when it comes to taking the matter to court. The only part we can play as private investigators is to become a witness in that particular case. In that particular matter, we become like witnesses. The second thing, what we normally do, we can do an affidavit through our lawyer, and the affidavit can be used in court of law. Yes.
How do you handle? Like I remember, when one goes for a HIV test.
Yeah.
The first thing that happens is you're given counseling even before you're given the results.
Yeah.
Unaambiwa hii unaweza kula ukunywe dawa and stuff like that. Do you have the same approach, especially like you could have a client who maybe they hired you to check if their spouse is cheating and they actually are, and you're worried that this person may harm themselves, labda ataenda atafute mti ya jinyonge ama kitu kama hiyo, or they might hurt the suspect, the spouse. They might take that information, then they go and do something nasty to the person who's actually cheating. So how do you handle such a scenario? Do you have a way to do it?
Yeah, that is why I spoke about a counselor. We must have someone who can be able to counsel the person before we hand over the information. At the same time, we need to know, because we normally have an agreement. First of all, I don't handle any case. I've never handled a file without an agreement between me and the client, for maybe even for security purpose, even for evidence, or even, of course, for documentation. Because each and every case we had to be criminal or civil, we keep files for that particular matter. So we normally counsel people, and we also ask them before even we start, do you want this information for your own purpose? Do you want it for maybe to go and look for hate code to hurt on the partner? Because we've had such case whereby somebody comes to you and tell you, and if he's cheating, what will happen? Or sometimes they want to use you. We don't allow that. So they have to explain in documentation, this information you need, it is for what and what, so that when you go and breach the contract, then it's upon you, and we can even sue in court of law.
So if you see the guy is a bit wild, or the girl, you'll just tell them, do this.
Or maybe they don't want to sign a contract. This information, you're not going to misuse it. You're not going maybe even to hurt someone. You must be able to sign a contract in front of we have about 3 company lawyers.
Before we went to the break, Jane, we'd asked, what are the highlights of your career, or what has been a case that was intriguing, as Eric said, ilileta mazishi?
Of course, I believe you know, but I have to maybe to repeat it. That particular matter whereby I was following up on my client who wanted to be deported. And then, of course, now people started not trying to threaten me to kidnap my children. It was, I think, one of my worst cases that I did, actually. That was 2019.
Did you feel like it was not manageable at some point?
Yeah, at some point I felt so bad, because at the same time I was working, and I did, as a private investigator, what I was supposed to do, visiting all government authorities, involving them. I was with the police, including the days I was told I threatened someone, because we don't work criminal cases. I repeat, we work with police officers. But here comes a group of police you are working with. Another group of police is planning to kidnap you and maybe to defame you simply because they're involved on that particular matter. So that particular case was, to me, to be honest, it was not worthy, but I still thank God, because it made me stronger.
At the end of the day, you're also a human being. You're a mother, and imagining you also you can get your emotions along the line. How do you strike that balance of you being a PI, and here you are, for example, you have a case that is, let me not say attack, but gets to your emotions? How do you strike the balance? to separate that?
Yeah. First of all, I normally do a lot of counseling. I have a counselor. At the same time, I'm a very strong prayerful woman. I'm a strong believer. I'm a Catholic. And of course, remembering that I'm brought up in a Catholic faith, I pray a lot to God to guide me. And maybe I'm also a very patient woman. Sometimes it happens, you feel down, but you have to do it for the sake of your children and your client. And at the same time, this is something I have to do.
Yes. Speaking of patience, Jane, let me just take you back a little. When somebody had asked about whether or not there's a requirement to enter into your line of work, into your discipline, and you said there are people who you've noticed are passionate and they don't have money to go to the university, so you train them. Do you test their loyalty at all? Because I would imagine your work requires that somebody is very secretive or inquisitive. How do you test that so that huyu mtu labda atafti tu fare kwenda Bungoma? Do you subject them to some sort of a test?
Yeah, we normally do that actually, even including giving them money. Maybe like sometimes even what we do, like we set them to go and work somewhere. At the same time, there are other people who are watching on them, and there are people who are also mentoring them so that they can become maybe better PI or better undercover. Most of them use them for undercover agents.
What is a spectacular failure in your assessment in a would-be PI who's really failed? What does that failure look like? Is it lying, or you give them money and they eat it?
I think coward. It has happened
Kupiga nduru.
Kupiga nduru.
You spoke alipiga nduru siku moja. Sasa imekuwa standard.
He seemed to be a strong guy. So basically, we've had a case sometimes back. We were following on a certain politician, and he tried to turn, not myself, of course, my team, and he tried to turn his car out the roundabout, and my guys were behind, of course. We had like a motorbike and another car, and when he stopped the car, the guy was armed. One of actually was in my company for internship, and then he said, when he saw the car, even before this guy turned the car, he walked out and knelt down. And then said, we were sent by Madam MUGO. My office is this place. So that guy, it was a long time ago.
Akatoboa siri yote. Huyo hata sio nduru.
Amefanya kitu.
Jamaa alikuwa amesimamisha gari anataka to make them lose the track. So jamaa alishuka kwa gari akaanza
kupiga mayowe.
So we've had that kind of internship privatized.
My goodness me. Lazarus, you're calling. I'll pick your phone call now. Emmanuel, do you want to say something?
No, I wanted to ask a question if we have a moment.
Yeah, you should.
Jane, do you there are these cases where people, especially politicians, they die and then you see another family appearing, secret families. Like, what's the percentage of that? Are there very many people out there with secret families from your investigation?
And before you answer that, let's just speak to Lazarus. Lazarus is calling from Mwega. Lazarus, karibu.
How are you?
Very well. Thank you for calling, Lazarus.
Today I'm greeting you. I have nimeingia tu kwa nyumba taifa nikaamua nimsalimie, nimekaa kwa muda bila kuongea na nini.
Umefanya vizuri, tunashukuru sana. Spice, good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm so fine.
Thank you for calling. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm Kibet. I'm calling from Eldoret.
Kibet from Eldoret. Mko macho?
Tuko raba kuruka.
Niko nadhani uko dimbwi la sintofahamu ya usingizi, LD.
Hapana.
Asante sana. What are your thoughts, sir?
So, ningependa kuuliza madam. Maybe you might be following criminals. Na kwe armed, na wewe as a PI, you are not armed actually, uko tu, wewe unachunguza tu but hauna kitu ka maybe a gun. So akikugeukia, what will you do?
Okay, good question. In most of the cases, as I said earlier, criminal cases, we work with the police hand in hand. But at the same time, maybe like we've been given information, sana maybe by a business partner saying, I've been doing business with this particular person, but I think he's a criminal. What we do, we normally follow them at a distance without exposing yourself. At the same time, my people are also trained. They know how to disarm. We also have maybe other protection gadgets like pepper spray, whereby you can use that. But in most of the cases, I advise my staff, I advise my investigators investigators, never fall up on an armed person when you're not with a police officer or even exposing yourselves. Yes, that's
True.
Yeah, the life comes first.
Would you say that your career is lucrative?
Yeah, in a way, sure. Yeah.
Something you'd encourage other women to pursue, because it's not something that many women would do. I think we fear.
Yeah, I think it takes maybe one to have a lion heart to do what I'm doing, but we still have other officers, women who are in military, in security.
Yes,
so it just takes a lot of, you have to be strong, you have to be a woman of steel. Because I think that is how, I'm sure about it.
Yeah.
I'm a woman of steel, and we also have other women who are working, maybe even from the police and other departments.
But you've done well for yourself, I think. You're employing quite a number of people.
Yeah, I'm not, financially, we're not okay, because some of these cases we do it like we help actually, because of the justice. As I was telling you earlier, it's not all the cases we normally charge. Some of these cases we've done I've done about actually 3 murder cases, kidnapping 2 last year. And these cases I did 2 I was paid and 1 I was not paid. Because sometimes it takes maybe a giving heart. The fact means I'm also a strong giver. I'm a director in different children's home where we give back to community.
So you have that feeling.
I have that feeling of this account who have come, the child has been kidnapped, maybe someone has been murdered, they don't have money. What do you do? I take up the matter. I had that. I've done that a lot actually. Like 5 cases I did last year. 2 are not paid.
Yeah, but I think she's doing well. Ukiona size ya Charlie 1 utajua kumaintain your size inahitaji pesa. Eric, there's a question I asked which you said you'll bring up after the break. I was asking about secret families. Are they?
Shame.
Is it quite prevalent in Nairobi and in Kenya generally? People having secret families?
Yeah, it's been there actually. So to be honest, go to these hotels all over. Most of the even times you go, you find that in a restaurant daytime they're about 20 vehicles, and maybe when you get into the restaurant mchana,
there's no one.
They're in the lodging, so it's there, it's happening, it's daylight. It's not even like before. People hide women. Sometimes they'll say they've gone for lunch and they've gone to a lodge in 1 hour, quick 1 hour, 2 hours they're back. So it's happening actually. Secret families, people having like private secret assets and all that. It's happening and it's there.
Do you do asset recovery?
Yes, we do asset recovery actually. We've done it for families and even for corporates and even for government. We've done that. Yeah.
You know, once when you're speaking, you said that you had to travel when your child was still a toddler all the way to Kakamega to investigate a case. Bado ukinyonyesha in your words. And you even had to pretend to be a barmaid, yet to disguise yourself and all these things. So what is the longest case you've ever had to handle? Can they drag on perpetually? And then what is the arrangement with the client? If the client wants, the client wants information in totality and you want more time, does that amount to more money? And even while answering that, which is the case you'd say took you the longest since you began your career?
Yeah, I've done a case of whereby a maid was killed actually in Mombasa. That was about 2016 in a place called Baburi, whereby she was struggled by a boyfriend and also a gardener, because they had an affair. Then the gardener killed the maid, and the family actually hired me. Because this particular suspect, it was a murder suspect. He had used a phone number that does not belong to him, ID number that does not belong to him. So we kept like months following the wrong person. But in the real sense, when we found the person, we had to go to Kisumu, we had to go to Western, and realized that we were following the wrong person until they told us, look here, this is the time my brother had borrowed me my ID. So that case took me actually like 6 months. It was a murder case, and that time the clients had already paid some money. But now imagine you going back to your clients and telling them that you need more money. That's what I'm talking about. For you to become a successful private investigator, you must have a heart of giving.
And integrity.
In you, because now I have to add money from my own pocket to succeed. Because in the real sense, we started investigation in Mombasa, but now the case took us to Bugoma, Kisumu, Western, all those places. And I was going with my baby. I remember my baby was still young. But thank God I was supported by police officers and we succeeded.
And how do you handle rogue officers? There's a question that I'm reading. How do you deal with rogue agents, those who misbehave in your line of duty or get compromised?
Yeah,
and they're in your team.
Yes, or in my team.
Yes.
First of all, we'll sit down with them and ask them why they're doing this. But in most of the cases that I've done, it's compulsory. You must have to leave the company. And because you can't also entertain. Because if you entertain this particular law officer, he's going to spoil the list. And at the same time, the integrity of my company and my work or case can be compromised.
Yeah, that's true.
So dawa ni kwenda nyumbani. Yes.
I asked you this privately during the break, but I'm just asking again for the sake of someone who's listening. Could we expect Heshimiwa Joan Mugo or Governor Joan Mugo? Are you looking at politics as an option?
People, to be honest, people have gone to my parents and even had politicians who have approached me, wanting me to become a politician.
And your people at home love you, I saw.
They love me, but I love them back. I didn't even say hi to them, actually. I love them back. So I've never been interested in politics. Being a security officer, being a detective, a private eye, sometimes politics cannot go. It's either I resign from what I'm doing and become to be a politician. I am not interested in any way.
You shared that you have had to beef up security in your compound. And people from Kirinyaga who, of course, love you, and your parents are still alive. Both of them or just one?
Both. Yeah, both of them are alive.
So do you have security for your parents as well? And
yes,
do you have
we have security for my parents. And of course, we are working very well with the security officers around my community. And as I remind you, and I told you a bit earlier, we have a police station that was built. I personally built it with members of community. And it's named after my name. But even this, to be honest, sometimes it's not the security, it's not the guns, it's God to protect us.
Absolutely.
Well, how many people have we seen even maybe get murdered or shot and they have security? We just do it so that you can be able to tell God, I did my part. But in the real sense, the best security comes from God.
Yes, that's true.
One person, I remember, Barbara, during that break before we left, I was asking Jane about what would shock her. This woman once, I'll tell you a quick story. This woman is in a bedroom just hanging out, amepumzika. Mzee ako na hiyo tabia yake ya kukuja saa zingine saa 7, saa 8 usiku. Sasa mama anaendelea tu, na mama from research wa Chicago na usingizi mpaka mzee akuje. Saa zingine hata anajifanya kwa kitanda, lakini mzee akiingia ndio sasa usingizi inakuja. So this woman around 2:45 am akasikia gari imezima. Kumaanisha ako kwa parking. Sasa akakaa asikii mtu akipanda stairs. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Akasema that's very unusual. Huwa anazima dakika 5 amekuja upstairs. So but she was upset with him. So she decided shauri yake. Then 1 hour she like hapana. Iwezi kuwa hivi. Huyu jamaa anafanya nini? So she took up her robe, tied it around her waist, and then she went downstairs. Kufika hivi kwa garage, amepata mzee ako kandanda ya ajabu, lakini na jamaa.
Ule gardener.
Yani majama wawili. Anafanya exercise ile juani. Mama akafaint kwa gari hapo. Sasa alisema in her entire life, that is the one thing that has ever shocked her. What has shocked you?
In your line of duty.
Line of duty.
Oh my God. I don't think I want to say this. But I've seen so much, honestly speaking, like I've seen so much when I'm working in Kenya. And global, because I've been to countries, but some of these things are so sensitive that I'm not able to speak.
But you've been shocked.
Yeah, yes. I have. I want to be honest with you. I have. Yes, but
after you are shocked, do you again go back to your counselor? Do you discuss it with the shrink, perhaps? Or you just keep it to yourself?
No. We sometimes when you speak about something, you start healing, and that is where actually even like forgiving people, you go speak about it, and at the same time you have solution on how to handle it. But so many times I've been in the line of duty, actually, including even like last year. I can't speak about that, of course. This is now breaching.
How do you keep your empathy alive? Like you hear so many sad stories. You know, people are coming with some of the sickest stories, like the one Eric has just shared. But like, how do you keep that? Jane Mugo, yani huyo uko ndani, just like she does not die because of You know what I mean by die.
Yeah.
Like your empathy. How do you keep it alive so that you don't lose that ulejen mugo hapo ndani?
Yeah.
Because of the shocking things you come across.
Yeah, just a strong, I'm a very prayerful woman, and I'm a strong person. And I think I just get to be used to what I see daily, what happens daily. You just get used, because life is too short, and I've seen even people die when I'm watching them. I've seen all kind of good people in life, bad people in life. I've been betrayed by my country. I've been loved by my country, my family, my closest friends. So I just get to be strong daily, and I say one day at a time. For my children, for my country, for my legacy, I will always keep doing the best, including even like now.
Jen, there's one day I woke up and I was very sad. Sorry, Barbara, I saw your hand after.
Yes, you do not want me to ask this lady a question.
So,
you two are too excited.
So what happened was I woke up feeling quite sad that day.
Yeah.
And then I was chatting with a friend of mine who lives in Houston.
Yeah.
And she was sharing also equally a sad story. So I thought this is a great opportunity to share that I'm sad, and perhaps we could cry together. So I told her, by the way, we were on FaceTime. So I said, by the way, I've been thinking about this thing. and then she told me, no, it's okay, Eric, you can cry. So I was looking for an outlet. And then I disconnected the call, and then I covered myself with a pillow. Nikajaribu kuvuruta machozi. Hey. Do you assign days when you cry?
Yeah, actually, in let me say specifically cases of murder, cases of cheating spouses, I can be honest with you, 30-40%, it's where when you're giving a client some report, maybe on phone they are far. Actually, when they start crying at the other end, you find yourself crying. You feel it like I'm a woman. Sometimes like you realize that a woman have invested so much money, so much time on this particular man. And can you imagine you're watching the same man spending that money and time with another woman? You are there watching, but at the same time, you're also trying to protect her emotions. So the woman is crying, maybe she's at home alone. You know, as an investigator, this jamaa ako pahali
anafanya matunda.
I don't need to say that, you know. So when a woman starts crying, I'm a human being. I cry with them. I encourage them. But I also let them cry, because it's through that they heal.
I'm trying to start an organization for crying for men. Barbara is our patron.
Before we go on a break, Jane, I'll leave you with this question. I saw on the BBC documentary that before you actually take any food, you either have to have your security or one of your helps on cooks have that food. Does it mean that you don't go to restaurants?
Hold that thought. You're going to answer when we come back. You're listening to 94.4 Spice FM, just 15 minutes until 10 o'clock. We are right in the middle of picking even your phone calls and the questions you might have. Barbara, myself, and Emmanuel will read them. You can send them on 40127, which is our SMS short code, or if you prefer, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SpiceFMKE. Remember the hashtag AdultsKE so that we can quickly locate your feedback. Good evening. We are the adults in the room. My name is Eric. I'm hanging out with the Duchess of Ikolomani, Emmanuel Kisi Angani, and we've had the pleasure of hosting a private detective who is still with us in none other than Jane MUGO. And guess what? If maybe you've just caught the show now, remember you can call live. The number you're calling is 0719-012-600. We have Jane for another 9 minutes, so you can ask your question. So you don't say, swali. You can call and ask now. Or if you prefer to just put things ##, we have 40127, which is our SMS short code. You could send us a text there. Barbara, myself, and Emmanuel will have a look-see and read what your thoughts are. And I'm sure Jane will do us good and just answer even as we go along. Barbara, you have something you want to say?
Yes, before we went to the break, Jane, I was asking, from the documentary that went online or is currently viral, I noticed that when it comes to your meals, at home you have either one of your close protection officers or your housemaid or your cook taste your food, because you'd indicated there had been an issue of poisoning that once occurred in your life. Now, do you actually go out? Do you go in restaurants? Do you hang out with friends if you always constantly have to have someone check your meals?
I just want to confirm that before I used to go to restaurants to eat, but at the moment it's in very rare cases I'll go out, and even if I go, I will still go with my bodyguard.
Yes.
Let's say, for instance, you've gone to work out of Nairobi County. Maybe someone has to get into that restaurant. They will tell where the food is being cooked, and they have to confirm maybe who is cooking the food, and at the same time the person, we make sure even the food has to be tested where we are. But in most of the cases, what I do, I avoid to eat outside.
So you just eat at home.
I eat at home, but in maybe 1 or 2 cases I've had maybe a cup of tea or even a bite, but in a maybe very rare cases.
Yes, I hear cats are good for that. Do you want to have a lot of cats to maybe travel with?
No.
Zikionja chakula. Sasa anabeba kwa bag.
Sipaka inaweza kaa
I
kwa
have
boot.
my guys. I'll never travel without my bodyguard. Or
But the bodyguard observes the cooking,
yes,
not the
even
testing.
when I'm going to sleep in a certain restaurant, they must go early and do something called advanced surveillance. They have to check on the hotel where I'm sleeping if it's okay.
So you can't do those impromptu. Emmanuel, let's go here.
No. I have someone has to go a bit earlier before me and to confirm. And of course, even maybe the type of the hotel you're going to stay, maybe there could be enemies, people who have investigated before. So we must be check on security.
And the bodyguard doesn't fear like even him because he's the one testing. Sasa yeye ndio anaweza
patikana. They have taken an oath. So they live
it's
with
part
that.
of the job.
Just like the way I've also taken an oath when I'm investigating a matter, I cannot review information until permission from the client.
There are some who cry just before testing the food.
Eric, you cannot be a PI. Let's just make that
Madam ni mimi naonja leo ama tunaweza acha Joshua aonje alafu nionje Tuesday. Mimi nitakuwa naonja Tuesday.
Maybe there's a schedule for onje. Chikichaliwani wewe ni wa Monday, ndio uonje.
There are two of them, but Chaliwani is one of them.
A lot of trolls after the documentary came out. Do you regret doing it?
No. Why should I? I mean, it's normal. What do you expect? Haters, idle people, not even haters, people are jealous. Like I saw one blogger and he was doing a story and I was asking him, can you tell me like what your mother do for living, or can you tell me, is that the only thing you found in the BBC documentary? You can't talk about me in the rage. You can't talk about the good cases I've done. The fact means an international media house came all the way and recognized me. It means there's something they found in me. So these are people are just, some of them even look at their followers. They have like 10, 100 maximum. So you don't wrestle with pigs. You just ignore them.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I understand them.
And it was it's aired globally. Are you seeing your brand now going to do investigations globally? Because I've seen even in Nigeria, you had a conversation with some people in Nigeria.
To be honest, I'm not excited because I've been to Nigeria, I've been to Rwanda, I've been to Turkey for investigation. I've been to about 6 Africa countries for investigation, but I've also gone to about 15 international countries for investigation.
Yes.
So I want to be very honest. It feels good when people recognize you and also they appreciate you and they said you clients. But to me, it's not the first thing that I've had cases or even I've been trolled. Like I was trolled 2019, ikakuja ikaisha. But it's after the citizen brought the truth of the investigation that Kenyans understood the truth. And of course, now they started fighting for me. So it's normal. And some of them are even briefcase investigators who are opening even pseudo accounts because they're like, why a woman? Especially being a woman, what do you expect from lazy people? Yeah, it's there. And I mean, I don't regret it. I'm happy actually about it. Because I can see, you mean I'm a threat. I make, like I was being told, there's someone who opened a company, a senior officer, and he was seated with about 7 people and was giving them each 500 to open an account on Twitter. Can you imagine? I was like, you mean I'm a winner? A man seated with 6 men. Can you imagine? All those men versus one woman. Don't you think I'm great? Yeah, it made me even stronger. How can you open a sweet account for me? Ukimfuata somebody they have not even maybe had meal that night or no credit. Wengine wanafulisha ndio wani attack. You're attacking someone who is moving up. I mean, sky is the limit. I was expecting, like I found 70% of the Kenyans or leave the world, they appreciate my work, but 30% are those people who are trolling me, negative people. Others are trying to make it up using me. So I'm also important even to the bloggers who are trading, like using memes. At least I made people to come, you sit there, you make maybe memes for you to trade. So in a way, nimewasaidia other people. Yes.
Good or bad publicity is still publicity.
To me, I'm not worried about it because it was not even for the BBC, it was not a bad publicity. This came in actually they did an email to me and it took me 1 month to accept the interview. And they were like telling me, we learned about you from 2019 matter, but later on we found a story from the Citizen, you are really on duty. The same government dropped the case. So we don't want to know why all this. Mara leo umeitwa mkora, people calling you a gangster, they go to court, they take a matter of threatening, okay?
Yes.
Then the second thing, a newspaper lights headline of you are wanted, but if you tell them, they cannot prove whom did I love, whom did I gun. They're just talking for the sake of it. So to me, I'm a superstar that for some of the media houses or a newspaper to sell, they had to use my portal.
And how did your family react?
Barbara,
Especially,
we are running out of time.
Last question. How did your family, or how did you manage your family when you hit the headlines that you were wanted?
My son, who was in Mangu High School that time, I'd already told him because I was staying with some media personality in my house and some police officers doing the case.
Yes.
So my son knew that my mama is investigating on a sensitive matter.
Okay.
The only one who didn't know was the small baby, the one who wanted to be kidnapped.
Oh, yes.
But the big one, I had already prepared him, this may happen. Because at the same time, I knew it will happen, but I didn't know when it will happen. So when I woke up in the morning and I filed the newspaper, I was just in my safe with some police officers, some media personality, and tulikuwa tunacheka tu. Tulijua ita happen, lakini hatukujua lini.
Jen, we cannot thank you enough for finding time to join us in the Adults in the Room. If somebody is serious and they need a detective who would help them with the matter, how could they reach you in 30 seconds, Mwambie?
You can follow me on my Facebook page, Jen MUGO with H. You can also reach to me on my Instagram account, jenmugo.trimo. My Twitter is at Detective Jen MUGO. I also have a website. It's Trimo Security, www. You can also follow me on, you can also do an email to me on trimokenya@gmail.com. And at the same time, go to my Facebook. When you DM me, I'm able to give you more information. Though I don't learn my pages, actually. I have people who does that, but they'll always respond to you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jane. You who listened, we appreciate you. From my own behalf, Eric Omondi and the whole team here, we say thank you. Thank you so very much for finding time to come, and also you who tweet and send your message, or even you who called. We appreciate you. Jen, I hope we can have more of these conversations in tentative shows. Sindio? Tutafikiria. Please say hi to the family and thank you for your time. From all of us, good night and God bless. It's 10 p.m. Good evening.
Darling. Good evening. Thank you.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.